Hello, this is Benjamin Fulford speaking on August 15th, 2025. I was told that I would be attacked by demons if I posted the photograph you see in front of you. The word they used was demonetization or demonetization. In other words, they said they were going to, I would have my income cut off. My subscribers would not be able to pay for their subscriptions if I posted this photograph. Okay? Now, the reason they gave is, well, because out of sensitivity for her family. But no. Or the other one is that maybe it's some kind of child porno. No, this is not. First of all, this girl does not have a family. I've had people come to me in Japan and explain that the Japanese government is obliged to send 16,000 children every year to the Khazarian mafia for human sacrifice. And so they do is they take orphans from car crashes or kids from troubled homes and they ship them off as part of their tribute. And this girl was, I was told by Japanese military intelligence that she was given to Barack Obama as a present from the Japanese government, and next you can see her being harvested for adrenochrome. The reason why I'm posting this pictures, that girl deserves justice. The White Dragon Society was not there to protect her when she needed it, but we will avenge her 100-fold. And that means we're going after Barack Obama and anybody else involved in this. Remember, this is not just one girl. This is like hundreds of thousands of children every year they're doing this to. And I think we need to see this. It's painful. It's disturbing. But this is what journalism is about. We expose criminals so that they can face justice. So that's why, despite the threat of the demonetization, I'm going to post this picture because the world needs to see it and we need to take action. This is what they should be talking about at the summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin that's now taking place in Alaska. And I know that the Russians have thoroughly documented similar crimes in Ukraine and are insisting that the denazification or involves is a condition for the peace in Ukraine. In other words, they want the criminals who've been spreading bioweapons, who've been torturing hundreds of thousands of children to harvest adrenochrome, who've been carrying out a genocide of the Ukrainian people, face justice. And I don't see how the current Trump regime is going to be able to meet those conditions. But I hope they do, and I hope we see a public trial for Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, all those people. And this should be in front of the world. That's why I'm not hiding that photograph. Now, getting back to this summit, I've asked various sources for their opinions, including the Italian P3 and MI6 and others. And it looks like this is really a kind of a begging mission on the part of Trump, plus a threat. So, he's begging for money and he's threatening to use HARP earthquake weapons if he doesn't get it. Now, there's another possibility. It's quite got around the internet that Trump made a slip of the tongue, said that he would be meeting Vladimir Putin in Russia. Well, Alaska was sold to the United States in 1867 because the Tsar of Russia was bankrupt after having lost the Crimean War and he needed the money. Well, maybe now that Trump has lost the war against Iran and is bankrupt, that maybe he's trying to sell Alaska back. Well, that's just speculation, but certainly if you look at all the sort of chatter going out, they're saying, well, we'll offer the Russians, the rare earth minerals in Alaska and other Alaskan treasures, and we'll build a pipeline, or not a pipeline, but a bridge or a tunnel connecting Alaska to Russia. We're going to make all sorts of promises, and maybe they'll reach a deal, but I don't see how a deal can be reached until these mass murdering pedophiles are, get the justice, and that's got to happen, and we can't leave this alone because they're going to keep doing it. Now, the other thing I'm seeing about their proposal for the Ukraine peace settlement is, okay, so they're going to hand back all the land that that is inhabited by ethnic Russians and Russia already has. But they're talking about a 99-year lease. So you got to remember, these Khazarian mafia, they think long term. So they think, okay, well, our attempt to destroy Russia failed this time, so we'll postpone it for 100 years. That's the sort of thinking. No, this has got to be a permanent deal, not a 99-year lease that they're going to propose. Now, the other thing I'm hearing, of course, is that they are going to throw Vladimir Zelensky under the bus. Well, good riddance. He was just a spokesperson anyway for a faction of MI6 that is working for the Khazarian mafia. And these people are still causing a lot of trouble. And I'm going to show you two clips now, both from Australia. The first is about a large Muslim demonstration or march, and the other is a kind of, antipathy, an attack against this march. And if you notice the people with the banner saying "we're full, fuck off, we're full," they're all wearing identical sort of black military uniforms with face covers. These are definite agents provocateurs. These are not spontaneous protesters. So what we're seeing is an attempt by the Australian authorities to provoke a Muslim-Christian clash in Australia, and I say don't go for their tactics. Now, the other thing that I've noticed in the news is that 750,000 British people signed a petition demanding an immediate election in the UK because Prime Minister Starmer is not doing what he was elected for. Now we have evidence that the 50,000 rubber dinghies full of illegal immigrants have come into the UK since he took over, and they pay BlackRock to take those rubber boats back to France so they could bring more illegal immigrants in who are causing crime. Again, this seems to be some kind of move to justify a military dictatorship. Now, the other thing that people have noticed, of course, is in Nova Scotia, they are trying to prevent people from entering the force. They keep changing their excuses. First it was because you start fires, but they say, well, a fire ban would just solve that. And they say, well, if you break your leg, we can't hurt you. And, that didn't work either. So they keep changing the story. And this is just speculation. I have no evidence, but they're definitely trying to keep people out of the woods for some reason other than forest fires. Maybe there's some kind of troop buildup going on in there, or maybe, as some sources say, there's a uranium land grab going on. I don't know, but my advice is people en masse defy this ban and go in there with cameras and find out what's really going on. Now, getting back to the U.S., the Trump summit with Putin is definitely a begging summit because the U.S. economy is in real trouble, and the government has become a complete brazen liar with their economic statistics. For example, I was looking at a CNBC article that said that the producer price index rose 0.9% month on month in July, which is 3.3% year on year. No, it's 11.3%. So they put in an obvious lie. They're trying to make it seem like it doesn't happen. That's just one example. The jobless claims, the initial jobless claims number has been identical, completely identical since November 2021. All the statistics are skewed. Well, they said industrial production is up, but capacity utilization is down. They're resorting to outright lies because their economy is in trouble. And the other thing they're doing is that they're printing huge amounts of money through the Federal Reserve Board, and they're using it to buy stocks and to make it look like stock prices are high, to create the appearance that the U.S. has more equity than it has debt, which is all BS because U.S. market valuations have nothing to do with reality. You can't have Tesla worth 20 trillion when it hardly can sell any cars or anything else, and it's mostly a movie studio. But that's what they're doing. They're in deep trouble. They're lying about it, and there's no way they're going to be able to borrow their way out of the situation forever. So I'm saying in September, let's make a big move. I'm going to do everything I can personally. I want everyone else who's listening to do the same. Let's overthrow these bastards once and for all. They are mass murderers. And in case you don't know that, here's the latest evidence, scientific evidence that the vaccines were mass murder. Please take a look at this clip. So you have a government that mass murders its own citizens, tortures children, and they're not going to prosecute themselves. This requires military police and the military who aren't compromised to go in and deal with this, because our governments have been hijacked by Satan-worshipping criminals. This is now proven beyond a doubt. They're actively trying to kill us, and they are bankrupting us at the same time. And if we don't do something about it soon, we'll all be working for the Chinese. Which, by the way, apparently now everybody in Ukraine is doing. It's become a Chinese drone marketing campaign instead of a war down there, and that's what I'm hearing. But, you know, the Chinese are going to keep leaving us in the dust until we improve our system of political and economic management, and that means bankrupting the U.S. corporation and restarting with something completely new, debt-free. And we need a jubilee. It's got to happen. There's no other alternative except decay and take over by the Chinese. Okay, well, that's what I have to say for myself this week. Now I'd like to answer questions from readers and viewers.
Hi, Ben. We have our first question for today. It seems there's a lot less news about the royal family lately. Is there anything happening with the royal family?
I haven't heard anything. The only thing I've been told is that they're all on a holiday until September, and that they will see some sort of moves related to the royal family in September. Now, I don't know if this will mean the removal of Starmer and the fake King Charles or what. I just don't know. But again, you know, the MI6 people connected to the royals I talked to are basically saying we're going to be gardening until September. So no news. But as soon as we get it, I'll let you know. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Canada has fallen in too many ways to fully discuss here. How can we free ourselves from Mark's carnage, the LGBT-loving WEF, climate cult, and the kleptocrat? Now parks are off limits in 2 provinces, and wildfires are being started so that Brookfield can mine uranium. What can we do when all the Lebranos will be forced from power, or are the woke mob and cartels and CCP already too strong?
I think the key is to start as many lawsuits as possible over the vaccines, because both parties were involved in that. And the other thing that can be done is file war crimes charges with the military at multiple levels to force an accounting for the mass murder of Canadian citizens by politicians who are bribed and blackmailed and do not represent the people. That's my suggestion. But I think it's going to be up to the people to apply pressure through the courts, and for the military from the ranks down to push pressure up to remove the criminals who seized government control in Canada and have led to this country's huge decay in living standards and public safety. Crime is way up in Canada, and that's because of poorly vetted immigrants who aren't like the previous generations of immigrants who were very well trained, well selected people who contributed to the economy. The ones coming in recently are not of the same caliber. Next question.
Hi, Ben. Are all these criminals so well protected that no special forces are able to get them? I would think at this point we'd start seeing more cabal CEOs or corporate presidents taken out. Only one teenage boy has been able to do that on his own. I'm beginning to think both sides of this drama are make-believe, especially since a fake Trump can just walk in, pass for the real one, and no one seems to know that he isn't the real Trump. How has nobody noticed?
I think a lot of people are noticing, and even those who don't notice realize that he's saying completely different things from what he was saying before June. But it is a problem in that many people really have been killed. For example, I have confirmed in multiple ways that George Soros was killed many years ago, but they use actors and computer graphics to make the appearance that these people are still alive. So I think the answer ultimately will be to send troops into the data centers to put an end to all this digital fakery, and at the same time demand the DNA testing of world leaders to make sure they are the original and not some kind of copy. But it's a fight, and these people have been ruling the planet literally for thousands of years, or at least the West, and they're a lot tougher than we thought. But they're definitely losing, and they have already lost the economic war, and now there's been a mass awakening. If you read the comments on all sites, people are not going to give up on Epstein Island. They've been filling our political ranks with actors reading scripts who are interchangeable. I don't know, maybe we've had like 8 Nancy Pelosi's or something. This has got to end, and I am pushing as hard as I can through my contacts to do this, and everyone else needs to do what they can. Again, bottom-up pressure is what we need to remove this fake government. Next question.
Hi, Ben. What agency do you believe, if any, will be the one to remove Mark Carney? I'm super concerned he's going to push for more mRNA vaccines, make it mandated, or try to vaccinate through some sort of arrow-type weapon.
If he tries to kill people with vaccines again, I guarantee you the military and the intelligence will take him out. But I understand that Mark Carney is just an order follower, and if he gets a new set of orders, he'll probably completely change what he does. We'll see. But nobody's gonna, get away with another vaccine campaign. Too many people have figured out it's impossible. Next question.
We have our last question for today. With respect to Japan, it seems the current cabinet may be toppled this autumn, as you report. However, the PRC or CCP has been infiltrating the Japanese top echelons like officials in the Ministry of Finance, which is stonewalling a fentanyl-related material tunneling scandal from the PRC to the U.S. Now the incumbent cabinet is under strong control of the MOF. What do you know about the relationship between the PRC and the MOF of Japan?
I don't have specific information about the Ministry of Finance, but I do know that the Biden regime offered to sell Japan, Australia, South Korea, New Zealand. top. So what we need to do, we've gotten rid of a lot of the people at the top. Klaus Schwab is gone, and so many others have left the scene, but we're still not quite there. And I think it's going to require actual military action.